Hello and welcome back to TC&A's monthly newsletter, Your Choice. We are excited to be sharing with you today tools for crucial conversations. We've all had them, we've all been there. And really, what is a crucial conversation? Let's define that first, and then we're going to get into some tools to support you. So, we have been using the book Crucial Conversations with our clients, and they define crucial conversations when opinions vary, the stakes are high, and emotions run strong. You can probably already relate or are nodding your head as you're listening. And a great way to start this off is to really understand when we're in a crucial conversation. So, Tess, what are three ways that we can understand that we're in one and like how we should utilize tools to help us through the crucial conversation? What are those three steps?
Well, first and foremost, we're going to have this emotional reaction, and our body's going to let us know when we're in a crucial conversation because we'll either want to assert our opinion and fight, we'll want to avoid and flee, or we'll freeze and we won't know what to do and we won't know what to say. So, the the aspect of really paying attention to our bodies is really key, and we talk about that all of the time about watching our energy. How is our energy flowing in a conversation? How is our energy feeling? How are we feeling in a conversation? And the moment we start to get signals and we're paying attention to those signals, that's when we can have the appropriate response. Typically, with the three elements, we will avoid. We don't want to get into the conversation, so we'll either avoid the person or we will not avoid the subject, or we will avoid the subject, I should say. We will address the situation and handle it poorly,
Mhm.
or we will address the situation and handle it well. And typically, when we handle it poorly, we go into a blame mode. So, being mindfully aware of when we want to blame rather than when we want to give more context to the story of what really happened or the patterns of what's happening. When we handle it really well, we typically have a mutual respect and a mutual purpose. And we can move the conversation through the challenging components when we're discussing, when we may be on opposite ends of the spectrum of the subject, we can add more meaning. And I like what the authors suggest of a pool of shared meaning. We can all think of a pool, and the more meaning we can put into that pool of understanding, more information, more opportunity to hear what the other person is saying, we can have an opportunity to have a greater success in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And in having that mutual respect and that meaning, it also requires listening, right? It requires listening to one another and not just pausing to be ready to say your point, which I
Yeah.
think happens a lot, especially in the workplace, because when opinions vary and emotions are strong, you're kind of always waiting to like, oh, well, when is it going to be my turn to say something? Right. Is there anything that you can recommend for people in those moments? Like, how can you be patient and listen, really truly listen?
Well, the authors also state put a bookmark, and I often put a bookmark. I'm going to wait to say what I want to say and really enter in and listen to what the other person's saying. And with that bookmark mindset, then I can bring into the conversation what the point I would like to make as well. But I think what's interesting is we have to really think of the flow of the conversation.
Yeah.
You can tell, and certainly our clients can tell if we're not really listening and our minds are somewhere else, or our minds are wanting to say what's next. They know. Again, it's an energy thing. They know we're not fully listening. So listening with the intent of what is the person really saying. If they say something and we're wondering, well, then what does that one word mean that they've used? ask for the meaning. What do you mean? You've said you're frustrated. Well, what do you mean by frustrated? What does that look like to you? The more we can gather information in a dialogue, the more we can actually understand what's happening with the other person, and then we can have choices how we're going to respond. I think oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough choices. We're just automatically in the conversation, we're asserting our opinion. We want to be heard. It becomes all about us, and we lose the whole aspect of what the conversation really needs to be about and the content and the subject, what it needs to be about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of guides us to these four tools that we wanted to leave people with today. And that first one is to start with being truthful. And that, requires listening to the other person. It requires a little bit of slowing down. But if you really want to be influential in your work and impactful in what you're doing and strengthen those relationships, it has to start with the truth. And that is what builds the trust with the relationships, right?
In fact, I was just talking to a client this morning. Two of her team members were having a struggle, and she encouraged the one team member that felt hurt to have a conversation with the other team member to explain why she was feeling hurt. And ultimately, the two did get together. The one was able to communicate why she felt hurt about something that the other person had said. The other person had an opportunity to respond and say, wow, I didn't even think that that would hurt your feelings. I was just kidding. I was just joking. And
Right.
so they were able to understand one another, that the one who made the joke, well, maybe that's not something to joke about. And the one that was hurt, maybe I need to pay more attention that she is joking. And
Mm.
so they had this mutual understanding, which then led to a mutual further respect for one another as they worked together. So it was a win-win,
Yeah.
and was really glad to hear that my client, our client, really chose to encourage her two employees to have the conversation. It worked.
That's such a great success story, and it's important to shrink that lag time as much as possible when things do arise like that. Because I imagine that if you hadn't had that call with our client, and then maybe a couple more weeks went by, or even a month went by, and that wasn't addressed, then everything else that happens in between time is layered from that joke being misunderstood. So
Yeah.
everything just gets amplified, right? So if we're being truthful, the next thing is to shrink that lag time, because that's what's really going to, again, help address those issues head on and strengthen the relationships as well, even when it's a tough conversation to have.
Absolutely. And what's interesting with the lag time, the longer something goes, the bigger the story becomes inside our own brain. We start to tell ourselves all different kinds of stories, which may or may not be accurate or even true. So shrinking that lag time and addressing and even saying, did you really mean it that way? Or,
Mhm.
I'm taking it this way. Is that what you really mean? It just addresses it in the moment. And again, this is all practice. We're practicing this as well. None of us are perfect when we come to crucial conversations, but the more we can less react and be more intentional with tools and resources, we can have much better outcomes. And it just builds the clarity. What's really transpiring here? What's really most important here? Certainly the relationship needs to be most important. The working together is most important. Those kind of things really start to show up when we are decreasing the lag time, when we are being truthful, respectfully, and we're able to put the relationship first.
Yeah, and really be clear, that third tool which you weaved in there of being clear, because when we're shrinking the lag time, that's also going to provide more clarity as well,
Mhm.
because the
Yeah.
longer the lag time, the clarity can get fuzzier and fuzzier, right? So keeping that lag time as short as possible, being clear. And then a fourth tool is being able to boost your own personal mindfulness. So
Mhm.
of course we love that opportunity to boost mindfulness and awareness. Ultimately, that starts from within. That starts from that mindfulness of your own body, of your own feeling when you're getting into those crucial conversations or you
Mhm.
get triggered. Pay attention to how you're feeling physically, and because that's going to send messages to your brain, and then everything's going to work together and it's going to
Mhm.
come out verbally. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's
Yeah.
not if you're avoiding.
Mhm.
But it's really important to have that general mindfulness of it really helps kind of bring everything all together, right?
Well, and yes, absolutely. And I think sometimes we just don't ask ourselves a simple question, what do I really want out of this conversation?
Yeah.
We've been in conversations where it's evident the person just wants to win. They're not really wanting to have a conversation. We've been in conversations where there's so much empathy and compassion and genuine interest and genuine truthfulness and honesty and transparency. We've been in conversations where we know the person is uncomfortable and they really don't want to talk things through, and yet questions and being willing to listen draws the person in because we really are interested and we really do care. So making sure that we're checking in with our own bodies and what our intentions are and what we really want out of the conversation, out of the relationship, is going to be helpful for us to have, again, a very positive and good and healthy outcome. I think so often we we get into a dialogue, and I know I have in the past, and where I just wanted to get my point across and I really didn't care how the other person was taking it, and never went very well. And there were apologies that I needed to make. And so on my learning curve of crucial conversations, just being very mindfully aware the other person is human, the other person has needs, the other person has a personality, a personal story, all of these things going on in their own life. How do I bring out a conversation that's going to be healthy for all of us or both of us? And it works.
Yes, yes, it does. And we can have better outcomes when we raise our awareness and we really seek out the tools and resources. This
Yeah.
book, Crucial Conversations, is full of them. There's so many good tools and resources in there, and that's why we've just pulled out a few to highlight today. So just as we're reviewing and wrapping up here, when you come to a crucial conversation, you can avoid, you can handle it poorly, or you can handle it well. Those are three options that are really up to you. It's your choice, and you can continue to seek out the tools and the resources. We are here to be that for you as you really raise your awareness and have good outcomes with these crucial conversations. You can be truthful, you can shrink the lag time, you can really be clear about what you want to say, and you can boost your own personal mindfulness starting from the inside out. Those are just four tools that you can start to practice, and just even practice one out of this
Yeah.
whole short video today. What's one thing that stood out to you that you can start to practice? We
Mhm.
offer every Monday free coaching basically in your inbox. So if
Mhm.
you're not already signed up, you can do that through the link here. We always want the best for you, and we want to be able to support you in these crucial conversations. So I know Tess is going to share a quote with us to wrap us up. And what is that quote for us today, Tess?
We're always focused on communication. And so I choose to lead my communication with mutual purpose and respect. And we all have a choice. And we appreciate you choosing to tune in today or on the video. It's appreciated. Continue to learn. May we all continue to grow because it makes a huge difference in the outcomes of our conversations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll be back next time.
All right.
Bye.